Unfortunately, they only showed the first 25 episodes of that, and then they wouldn't show the last 25. It's just terrible. I don't know why UPN did that, but anyway, that's how I got involved. It's from theater, and that's true for a lot of us voice actors. It was from theater that we got involved.
All right. So once again, our question was how you got started in this industry. But first, let's have our newcomers introduce themselves.
What was that?
How did I get started in stunts, or just doing?
How you got started in general? Yeah.
So my background was I was a martial artist all my life, and I happened to be living with this clown named Walter Jones at the time. We were roommates, and I was traveling back and forth overseas doing stage shows. And on one of my trips back, he was like, "Hey man, I just got an audition. Help me read for this audition." And so, you know, I'm doing the dialogue with him or whatever, and the show is called Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and I'm like, what the heck is this? You know, it's just this like wild, crazy concept of a show. Then I went off to go away to go do a show again, but when I came back, he had already booked a show, and he had done like, you know, over 18 episodes or something like that. And in the beginning, Saban hired physically talented kids, thinking that he could have them play the actor and then also do all the suit work as the Power Rangers. But he didn't take into consideration that, you know, people get claustrophobic, the helmets fog up, and after we had a couple of injuries, they decided it was probably a smart thing to get actual stunt doubles to be in the suits instead of having our actors take the chance on getting injured all the time. So Walter knew that the stunt coordinator was looking for doubles, so he was like, hey, you know, my roommate's my size, he's a great martial artist, do you want to meet him? So went in, met with the coordinator, basically showed off, did a bunch of flips and kicks and stuff, and he was like, okay, you start tomorrow and clear your next 7 months.
Wow.
And that was the beginning of 10 years worth of being on the show, from Mmpr all the way through to Wild Force, and over 380 episodes of being on the show.
Tell them all the characters you've done.
Rito Revolto was my first son. Alongside her, it was a blast to play Rito. And then I also played Elgar for the Turbo movie and the series. And then I played Jindrax and voiced Jindrax. So those were the bad guys that I got to. And Elgar.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Serena, how'd you get started?
Yeah, so I got started actually in theater, and then that's kind of that is definitely a good place to start. Hey, come on up here.
Barbara Goodson and Kerrigan Mahan,
No,
ladies and gentlemen.
Come here.
Aw. I just. Yay. Oh. My birthday's tomorrow, just so everybody knows.
Happy birthday! Nah.
It's always right around Morphicon, which is really nice. So basically, yeah, I came from theater first, and then just started auditioning and that sort of thing, and came across, you know, they were looking for someone, and they named the character Sabrina Scorpina. That showed up, you know, on the when I got to the audition, which I still always think this is also just not actual based on fact, just my own little thing in my head. So, which is that when they were looking through the headshots and they saw my name, they thought, well, this would go perfectly with the character. So then a bunch of us read for it, and then basically they narrowed it down to 2 of us and had us try on the suit, and then it was basically whoever fit the suit. So I pretty much got started in Power Rangers because I fit the other actress's suit. Pretty much is what it was.
Oh my goodness.
So, but yeah, but really, really fun. Just enjoy, obviously, being here. And speaking of strange things in Wikipedia, there was always a rumor that the reason why Scorpina's character arc never really went anywhere was because the actress, the American actress, you know, Sabrina Liu, would not come back for the part, you know, because that's just something that, you know, struggling actresses do. We just refuse to, you know.
Smart
why
choice.
would I want to do?
Yeah, wise choice.
Why would I want to work? So anyway, basically that was I don't know where that rumor started, but that was the everyone thought that for quite some time, and I think it is still somewhere on like Ranger.
Oh, I will go on the lines and delete it, but I think the issue here was that we kind of assumed, being frank, sometimes the working conditions on Power Rangers may not have been 100% the best. But yeah, well, I'll go online and fix that. Our question for our panelists was, how did you get started? How did you get started in this business?
In entire business?
Or on Power Rangers, either one.
Or Power Rangers?
Or voice acting.
Or
Oh,
voice
yeah. Or whichever one you feel like answering.
Or kindergarten.
Or kindergarten. I started, I came out of my mother's womb, and I did Rita. Never mind.
Coming out of your mother's room, you did Rita.
That's a scary thought.
I'm here! I was in New York doing shows and stuff out of, I loved it in high school. I went to college for it, and then, in fact, Lord Zed and I went to Queens College at the same time, which is pretty wild.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Did you know each other there?
No, I didn't know him from Adam. So I did nightclub stuff back then, wrote my own stuff for one-woman shows, singing and everything.
Did a little modeling for Rolling Stone.
What are you talking about? Not Rolling Stone.
Oh, what?
No, never mind. So, what was I going to say? So then I came to LA and I had written a thing of character voices, but I never had enough money to put it together to do a tape. But I did perform it, and I did this show called Company, which was a Stephen Sondheim show, and it played the crazy bride, Amy, and the bass player in the company said, you know, you're good with voice stuff, you know, playing around with your voice. I know somebody who is doing this thing called Japanese anime. Oh, nope, it was called cartoon dubbing.
Cartoon.
Yeah, anime
was
didn't
not
exist.
even, never called anime back then. And so I met her, and I rattled off my character tape, and she got me into with an agent, and I got a Kellogg's Fruit Loops commercial right first audition I ever had. I thought, cha-ching, I'm in the money. I didn't have another commercial for 10 years after that, but I did get into this Japanese cartoon dubbing, and met these crazy guys, Tom, who was writing this stuff and acting in it, and this guy who played my boyfriend in Robotech, and now he's my minion in Gold. You know, we go back to when we were wearing diapers, and it turned out instead
Don't
of waiting
remind me.
tables, we did the dubbing, and then we found out about Saban, and we went there as a troupe of actors, and I did boy voices a lot back then. And then they threw Rita at me and said, hey, we want you to do the Wicked Witch of the West voice for Rita. And I said, okay. And I got fired doing what they asked me because they said, oh, no, it's not scary enough. I said, that's how you directed me. So they said, well, no, we want to have auditions. And I said, well, can I audition? And they said, oh, okay, you can audition. And so I went to the audition and I thought, you want it scarier? I'll give it to you scarier. And then I got the job. So there you go.
I actually studied under the tutelage of Tom Weiner for years. And I finally understood what the word late meant. No, these are inside jokes. What's the question?
How do you
How'd
get
you
started?
get started?
Wow, third grade. We did a skit, and I played the, what do you call the town? It was a Western thing, and I was the shopkeeper, and I knew. I mean, even though I grew up in this business with parents and grandparents and all that, but that's the worst because they all stay out of this. No way, you're not doing it. But I knew right away this is what I wanted to do, and it's kind of what got me through school. I don't think I'd have made it through school without acting, and junior high and high school, and I did all the plays, and then I got out and I did more plays, and then I was kind of wandering around, at that age, 28, where you kind of really have to have figured something out by now. And I hadn't. I just kept doing one play after another, and a little bit of on camera. But, I really didn't know what the move was at this point. I'd already gone to New York and come back home, I think. I can't remember. Doesn't matter. Did some plays over there. And my girlfriend at the time, a blues singer, was working at a little pasta place, which you guys must remember, Pasta Etc., right up the street from Inner Sound, right? And this dude comes in. They were notorious for staying open late. It was a very fancy, shishi pasta takeout kind of thing, and you could sit down, but for the most part it was for rich people to take out food coming down from the hill and take out fancy pasta way overpriced. And she worked there, and she comes home one night and says, this guy came in and he says I should do voices, and they're recording down the street right now. I said, at midnight. Sure, Wanda. You were being hit on, and that's the stupidest thing I ever heard. Well, as it turns out, that was the case. That dude was Greg Snagoff, and he was coming in the middle of, you know, recording all night. And Tom, I think you were on it at that point. We hadn't met. And so I naturally said, we'll go in tomorrow and see what bullshit all this is. And of course, it wasn't. And I see, you know, this guy, Greg, invites us into Studio A, and I watch him, you know, with his feet spread wide at the microphone, you know, like he's a big-time athlete or something. And I'm watching him do this dubbing, and I'm looking at it going, I can't do this. This is really insane. He's reading a script. He's watching the screen. This really looks hard. Wanda gave it a shot. She was okay, not very good. And I'll never forget standing up to that microphone, and my heart was coming out of my throat. I was so nervous. And somehow I got the first line in sync. I don't know how. It was lucky, completely lucky. And the rest was history. I never had a regular job again. I started getting hired on what we called Bits and Walla, which is just, Walla is just background voices in the cartoon Robotech. That's what they were doing. And they were so far behind, and it was around the clock. I mean, it really was 24/7 that people were working. And they decided, knuckleheads that they were, that somehow I would fit into this mess, and the rest was history. And then I wound up doing the second part. I was Private Sean Phillips, and I never turned back from that point forward. That was the beginning of my voiceover career. And there was some on camera. I did on camera, but I found the voiceover stuff then really took over. And hey, all right, say hi. And I think there was a little bit of laziness with the voiceover, because it really was no shaving, no makeup, no wardrobe, and so it was like, wow. I mean, you get to, and you really get to act. I mean, it really is acting. It's acting behind the mic. And you get to be bigger. You get to be a little bigger in voiceover than you would on camera, because, you know, the camera, it doesn't lie, and it's like, ooh, you're a little too big. Yeah, that was a little too much, or that was whatever. But this way, it's different, and I just warmed up to it, and all the rest of everything else just fell into place. And here I am, 38, 48, 58, 35, 40 years later. Can't believe it. And
Boy,
that
it
was
goes
it.
fast.
That was it. That was it.
Okay, well, so thank you. So all of you worked on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, which was, as some of you may have guessed, a bit chaotic and hectic. So I'm sure there were some, let's just say, cases where things did not go as planned or surprised you. So, okay, yeah, you have to say the story now, Tom. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'll go.
Yeah.
My favorite story. I'll have to watch my language here, so.
Well, I never do.
Kids. There's kids.
Oh, are there? Oh, yeah.
I was directing Frankenstein, an animated version of Frankenstein, and Richard Epcar was doing Dr. Frankenstein. And there was this scene where his wife, it was animated, and the wife says something to him like, well, you know, what are you doing down there in the lab all night? And his line was supposed to read, I can't tell you, and then he turned away and you couldn't see his mouth, so lip sync didn't matter. You would never speak to me again. Well, instead of that, he said, I can't tell you, you'd never sleep with me again. And we all laughed, it was very funny, you know, and that wasn't actually the word we used something else. Anyway, right at that very moment, Ahmed walks in and says, the head of the studio, Ahmed Grama, and says, "We're shelving this project. We're not gonna finish it." At that very moment. So the last thing that was recorded was that line. A year goes by, and they decide to finish it. So we go down to the studio in the basement, and the studio has a big window so we can see the engineer, but there's about this much room between the bottom of the window and the floor. So anyway, so we're standing in there, and at the very moment when they're queuing up the tape to the last thing we did, in walks the head sales rep from Harmony Gold with 4 Japanese clients, all in business suits and very official, and this guy who kind of looked like a used car salesman with a checkered coat and big florid face, he says, "Play us the last thing you did." And Steve Kramer was in the booth with me at that point. And what comes out? "I can't tell you, you would never me again." And Stephen and I, we burst into hysterics and ducked down below the window so they couldn't see us. But I was watching over the top, and the sales rep is looking over at his Japanese clients, going, "I don't know how that. I'm sorry." And they were like tittering between themselves, like. That was one of my favorite moments in this business.
Okay, I do have one from the show. So I hadn't ever been called in to do a voiceover thing, but they called me back and they said, "Oh, you have to do your voiceover part." And I said, "Oh, what voiceover part is that?" Because I was doing, mostly the on-screen stuff. And they said, "Well, you need to add your martial arts sounds." My martial arts sounds, so and they said, "Yeah, your kia, ha, ha, all of that." And I said, but no one told me, because I did the little kata and stuff, and to show off in the youth center, as you do when you're trying to woo someone. So I did my routine, and I really was more of a dancer than a martial artist at the time, which is kind of obvious if you watch the kata as well, from the circle kick and the leap. Anyway, basically my mouth was closed the whole time, and so I'm like, how am I doing kia ha? How am I physically making these sounds? And they said, well, just do those when you're turned to the back, when we can't see your mouth. So if you watch that scene, every time I turn around, I'm like, ha, ha, yeah, yeah. And I turn back to the front, and all you hear is,
What a match.
So that's pretty much that was, because no one told me I was going to have to go in and make these sounds at the time, because that was but it was just funny. It was a blast, but we had little things like that would just certainly come up, because you're just, you're in a hurry, you're getting the scenes done as quickly as you can. No one mentions that till they're in post, and they're like, ooh, she should be making some sounds or something. So anyway, there was that. That was kind of fun.
Okay. So anyone else have some sort of, while filming or in the ADR booth, something went wrong?
I can't say wrong. I can just say with the first Machiko Soga, who did the original Japanese Rita. I mean, they didn't have much footage, so her mouth is in Japanese, the same footage over and over again for the first, I don't know, 5 years, for first year or two. And different storylines in the same mouth. I was very meticulous with my dubbing, and it drove me crazy that I was so unable to make it work, because it had to be a different storyline with the same footage. But I had no idea that would turn into one of the things that would be pleasurable to, not the kids, they didn't notice, but the adults would say, wow, that's terrible dubbing. But it became like a joke that Rita's terrible dubbing was like What's Up Tiger Lily, like a Woody Allen movie where it's like a little bit off each time, but I was no way to have it on, Luckily, when Carla started, it was English to English, so it was easier. So I looked like I knew how to dub better.
Unfortunately, I have to bail out. You guys enjoy the rest of your con.
Yeah, thank you so much for making it out here, man.
That was There's so many. There's so many. There's so many. I think over all the years, we all have what we call outtakes. And if I could just have...
Children here.
No, I'm not giving any of them. It's all right. Nothing's coming out. I swear to God. No, she hasn't heard. No, she don't. We don't want to go there, I can promise you. We don't want to go there. But with that, the outtakes, and there's something really weird that happens. You record them, you come up with whatever it might be. It's funny, it's dirty, it's nasty, it's whatever. And you record it, and for some damn reason, it's just not hilarious when you record it. It's when we all play it back. For some reason, that's when it really plays. When you hear it coming out of the character's voice, you just fall out. And sometimes it's funnier, and sometimes it's really bad. I mean, it's bad. And not to even begin to go head to head with Tom's, but his is good. I don't know how he got away with what happened. Mine was bad. I was doing a show called Mapletown. Oh. I was directing it, bless you. You all right? All right. Is it me? Is it me? Okay.
Not all about you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, my Empress. So, I got Saban's daughter is in the show. She's a lead. And she's a great kid. She's not his daughter by blood. She's his stepdaughter. And she's great. She's cool. And the show's real syrupy sweet. I mean, to the point of like, what am I even doing directing this? That's already a disconnect total. So we have a good rapport. We have a good time together. She comes in. She's very good. She's very fast. And I tell her to basically, I see the sync on something that's just perfect, and I tell her to say this really, really bad line to her mom. She's sick in bed. Mom comes in. Again, the story doesn't tell as well without telling what I told her to say. She said it. We played it back. It was absolutely hilarious, absolutely inappropriate, absolutely bad news. Well, again, these are outtakes. You have the fun, you record it, everybody laughs, we move on, we do the work. It's all good. 2 weeks go by, I come into work, 10 o'clock, the right arm to Chaim, secretary, Kelly, you might recall, says, she looks white when I come in the door. She's completely like, whoa. I said, what's going on? She said, you're in so much trouble. I said, what's wrong? What's going on? You'll see it. You're done. I said, Kelly, what did I do? I have no idea what's going on. It's like, what? I'm always on time. I bring my work in on time. Everything's in sync. I mean, it's like I'm a complete perfectionist. I'm lost. Into Eric's, her boss's office. I sit down. He looks at me, and I said, what's up? He said, what's up? You might recall recording, I can't think of her name, 2 weeks ago. What? Recording her what? He said, the little scene you did with her in the bedroom when she was sick with Mom? Now I went white. I said, yeah, why would he know about that? It's like these things are recorded, they're erased, it's gone. It's a track that isn't gone. Somehow, the damn track was not erased. It went to the station. That's how busy they were. They're mixing all night. It went to the station called and said, what in the hell is this? It was 5 minutes from airing. 63 years old I am. I've been fired from one job, and that was it.
Oh my God.
And I was fired on the spot. All right, that was the end of it. Gone. There, I said, I'm fired. Good, I'm fired. Okay, got it. You know, that wasn't supposed to. Kerrigan, you're the director. It did. You're fired. I said, good. I'm good. I'm sorry. You're right. I'm fired. Of course, you know, I came back to play Goldar, so we saw how, you know, how heavy duty that firing really was. But anyway, that's kind of a Tom thing, and that really wasn't supposed to happen at all. So pretty scary. Anyway, that's it.
That's called doing a Tom.
Great. And add to the legend.
So one of the things that you guys have had is most of you have been able to go incognito as opposed to the Ranger actors who, you know, but have you ever had a time when you've gotten recognized at a place where you didn't expect it?
Say that, what's the question?
Have you been recognized for your part somewhere you didn't expect to be recognized?
At a baseball game. I was at Dodger Stadium, is that in LA?
Yeah, that works.
And I had no, I mean, because I'm a voice actor villain, but, you know, the kid that was checking bags at the door said, Rita! And I went, what? Because I'm, you know, I'm incognito in my life, you know, it's like bizarre to be recognized because I'm not on camera. And so he said, oh, great, I'm so glad to see you. I'm going to go to a convention soon. And I said, great. And, you know, and he let me by, and I thought, I could have had a gun in my purse. I mean, you know, he didn't check anything. So.
Well, that's the thing about the fandom. They're just so amazing. They're so trusting, so it's a great thing. But with me, I had the same issue. I was always kind of incognito because that makeup was just horrendous and ridiculous. So no one ever knew I played Rita until just recently, and I think that's just because I've been going to a lot of cons and I'm getting more recognition of what I really look like. And I was at, it was Mother's Day, this past Mother's Day, and I was at a Chinese buffet lunch with my family out in Lake Elsinore. And all of a sudden I was sitting there and they're all, Rita, that's Carla, that's Rita. I thought, what? People recognize me? So then I was there in the middle of some little Chinese buffet restaurant in Elsinore taking pictures with everyone. Wow. So that was pretty cool. That was the first time. And then again, back 25 years ago, all my fans were little children, so you know, you don't really get recognized back then. So, but it's kind of nice. 25 years later, and that's how it goes.
I think,
Yeah, go on.
I think the most memorable time for me, or the strangest one, was my oldest daughter actually went to the LA County School for the Arts. And so, you know, with parents, you volunteer, you're bringing food, you're helping, you're just like schlepping stuff around. And so when she was a freshman, the very first event I went to, someone stood next to me and they said, I've seen you before, you were in Pasadena. And so this was just probably the second Power Morphicon I'd gone to or something.
2010?
It would have been like 2014.
Wasn't that
Actually, of course, it was 4 years ago. She's graduated from high school. I'm now putting that math together. So he actually had been at Power Morphicon, so he's a fan. He's here also at this one as well, but he was a senior, she was a freshman, and I was sitting there going, oh my gosh, because since my birthday is always right around Power Morphicon too, and we had gone dancing in Pasadena, and I'm like, oh no. I'm thinking they're just recognizing me from like a club or something like that. I didn't put it together at all because I had just, I really didn't. And he was trying to be all, you know, very vague about it. So at first I did not figure out what he meant until after he said, he's like, remember the convention? And I'm still like blanking. And then he's like, Pasadena. I'm like, is this a game show? You know, trying to like put it together. And then finally, then it all made sense. But, and so yeah, it's nice because now I've seen him at several Power Morphicons. And he was always looking out for my daughter that whole first year that she was a freshman, he was a senior. So they were both doing theater at the LA County School for the Arts that year.
Okay, so if you have a question for these wonderful panelists, line up over here. Let's see what we've got. Oh, you're being polite about asking the villains.
Yeah, he's supposed to be nasty. We're at a villains panel.
Hi, I'm Matt. My question is for Barbara. For those that don't know, she also voiced Mother Talzin in Star Wars: The Clone Wars. So it was kind of like a two-part question.
Sure.
First off, did you come up with the accent for Mother Talzin, or was that something that was given to you?
The audition was George Lucas wants a Russian woman, a Romanian. Now, I'm in a different generation. I remember Wolfman, the Wolfman and the Dracula movies in black and white as a kid, watching them on $1 Million Movie in New York. Maybe one person knows what I'm talking about. And there was an actress in the black and white 1930s movies, Maria Ospenskaya. And Maria would, when the guy was coming up the hill to, you know, it was like Transylvania, but it was not a Dracula movie. It was the Wolfman movies. And they would say, we want to go somewhere, and she would go, beware the wolfbane bites. You know, like, don't get near the wolf, you know. You'll get bitten. So I always loved accents and stuff like that. So she just popped into my head, and I auditioned with my image of that woman. And I think George Lucas is about my age, too. He's in that realm. And I think it might have hit some memory of his, and he cast me. He approved my voice, said that's the one.
Okay.
For my, you know.
Well, thank you. And the
benefit.
other part of my question was, since Mother Talzin is somewhat similar to Rita in that she's like a space witch, who do you think is more powerful, Rita or Mother Talzin?
Oh, Mother Talzin by far. Rita's an idiot.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you. Go.
Hi, my name's Anthony. So, being a voice actor, as I'm learning, because I'm aspiring to be one myself, I realized that most agencies look for a lot of range in voice actors. You know, you just can't do the same voice and get the job every time, I imagine. So you gotta have like all these different characters in your head and stuff like that, and then it just comes out. My question is, what do you think was the most challenging role for you, and what do you think was the most easy for you?
So many.
Challenging for me are to do the really pure bell kid voices, the sweet girls, because mine are always a little bit weird. And I don't usually get those, but sometimes, like Mitsuni in Love Hina,
Oh, yes.
they wanted me up here with a southern accent. And I pulled it off, but it was hard to stay up there when I want to go down here, you know, where I belong. But, you know.
Of course.
But it was a challenge. And, of course, it depends on the character. The challenge is the acting, to be an actress and to just jump into the being of the person and just wear the person on you, you know, just. So they're all a challenge.
All right. Anyone else have any stories or characters they want to share?
I don't know why, but the easiest characters for me have always been either really dumb, like blondes. I mean, not anything against blondes, but just
Like blonde.
like blondes. No, but so yeah, I mean, people would say, "Oh gosh, you're the blondest Asian person I know." You know, so I could either do really dumb or evil. The hardest thing, honestly, the biggest challenge is being a normal person.
Amen.
And making that character distinctive when you are voicing them and you're not getting to act. So you have to do a lot more because you're trying, like being a little kid, you know, is difficult unless that little kid is a character, is like an especially evil child or an especially dumb child. Then those were easier.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Hey everyone, Carla, Barbara, and Sabrina. If you guys could hang out with Machinka Soka and Amy Kwan, what would you guys do and say? And what would you want them to tell you?
What would we want to
If
do
you
or-
could meet your Japanese counterparts, what would you say? If you could meet your Japanese counterparts as Rita or Scorpina, what would you say to them?
It's very,
Oh,
excuse me,
okay.
There's
before
an
you answer,
echo over there.
I just want to point out, it's very echoey in here.
Yeah.
So speak really slowly, or all the
Yeah,
words
that's
tend to just kind of glom together.
I think I got it. I think
So
I got
you-
it.
is-
I always regret that I never met Machiko Soga. I think she wouldn't have wanted to meet me, though. I mean, I think she had an issue because she did get to play Mystic Mother, I think. And I don't know, and I heard she learned how to do her own English for it. Do you-
Really?
Is that
I didn't know
She did
about
her
that.
own English for
Did
Rita,
she?
you know.
at the end?
No, back during Mighty Morphin, they actually had her.
Well, they filmed scenes of her trying to speak English lines to make the dubbing easier for Barbara because, as we said, those Japanese lines were
Maybe you know
awesome.
the
Well,
answer.
actually, this is what I know about Machiko Soga.
Yeah.
I do know because I believe it was the last Power Morphicon. They had some of the people that worked on Super Sentai back in the day. And people don't know this, but she wasn't really Japanese. She was Filipina.
She was?
She was Filipina. She had to change her name to a Japanese name because in Japan, back then, it was hard to get work if you weren't Japanese.
Wow.
Yeah,
I
so
love this.
apparently she spoke English, but she also spoke Japanese, and I'm assuming Filipino or Tagalog. Yeah. Yeah, so that's it. There's a fact. Maybe I would want to chat with her in Tagalog.
Are you all taking notes? This is interesting.
She's passed
Yeah,
on,
so
but
I
would
mean,
have
that surprised me. I was kind of shocked by that, but
Unbelievable.
that's what I heard. And another thing I heard about her, she's really fascinating, is back then when they were filming it, she would go to work on the subway with her whole Rita garb on.
Wow.
That's
wow.
how dedicated she was because she was so she would fear that she would get fired or something, so she wanted to be ready on set with everything on.
Wow.
So she would
That's
come with
incredible.
yeah. So all
I
the
love
stories they
this.
were telling me, I was just so fortunate to be around them, and they told me all the stories about her when she would come to work. So
She did a lot more than
yeah.
Rita. She was a.
She was
She
amazing,
was
yeah.
a lot of acting.
Yeah.
She was well known as a famous actress.
Yeah, I think I would
Actresses.
just, I would definitely, first of all, be like, how cool is our suit?
I
I
know.
would really sit down, relate on that level, probably. Try to maybe just sit and visit with her. It would be really neat to hear. Also, obviously, her character got to do a lot more and explore things and have offspring and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I think that, I mean, that's really cool. I'm fortunate to have been able to get to wear the suit and portray the character a little bit and all that kind of stuff and get to hang out with all of you guys because it wouldn't have happened if she hadn't created such an amazing part. And I know that I don't think she comes over this way. I think she's got a family and busy and a career and everything over there. So we haven't been lucky enough to ever get to have her over this way. But I
Thank you all.
Thanks, kids.
Hello, everyone. My name is Franklin, and this one's for you, Sabrina. Is there a chance that Scorpina could return? Because she wasn't seen in Countdown to Destruction in the finale of In Space.
Yeah, here's my thing. Well, here's the spin-off that I want someone to write, even if it's just, fan-produced. I'm here for you. Is that I think that Scorpina and Goldar in human form are actually in hiding in some suburb somewhere.
Bingo.
Let's say Stanton. I don't know. Somewhere they're just in some suburb, and they're soccer mom and dad, and they're at games. And as long as everything is going fine, everything is cool. But then things start to go a little bit awry, and someone kind of is not being fair with one of our kids, right? And so then we accidentally morph into our monster characters and destroy.
Yeah, you
No,
run
no.
that by Hasbro.
That's right.
Well, they do
and
have
the
that
toys.
footage of you guys with the little baby.
That's right. Let's
Yeah.
see. There's already precedent set.
It's a human baby, bro.
Yeah, luckily the baby looks more like me. I mean, nothing against Goldar, but the baby does look a little bit more like Mom.
Completely
Took after
humanoid.
my
I'm
side
okay
of the
with that.
family. So, but yeah, I really think it would be cool to write some more stuff for her. Going off a little bit, that would be a lot of fun. So that's a good question, though. I think it's kind of nice being vague, that we don't know. I'm not space dust. You know what I mean? Like, I could show up. Here I am.
Okay. So
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Diego, and this is for Carla.
Yes.
I've seen you in a video in Chris Cantata's channel about Rita and Draken.
Oh, Chris. Oh, yes. Yeah.
How fun was it to work with him?
Oh, he's great. He's such a wonderful fan. Chris is amazing, and what he can do with all his special effects and all, it's very impressive. But we had a great time, especially because, you know, he's in the Philippines, and I'm originally from the Philippines. So just being there and filming a little Rita, it was hilarious, and we had a good time. I'd like to do it again. I was there this summer, but unfortunately I was traveling a lot because we were doing the island hopping. But maybe next year we can do another one to continue that scene, or maybe a 2 or a 3. I don't know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Justin. My question is for Rita Repulsa. How was it working? How was it controlling the Green Ranger?
How was it what?
we didn't hear you.
Working with the Green Ranger.
Oh,
No.
the Green Ranger. Huh? How was it making the Green Ranger? Oh. Well, it was fun. He was evil, so when he was evil, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Except he became good again.
Yeah, so yeah,
That wasn't
you know,
fun.
You know how that goes.
Hey, first of all, greetings. Thanks y'all for being here. My name's Stevie. I'm a major fan. This is actually for all the females on the panel. Now, I know y'all had your first round of like fandom and everything in the 90s when it came around, but I mean, me as a fan looking at it, I would have never in 50 million years thought you would have come back and had this major boom and impact that you do now.
Oh yeah.
So my question is, obviously, if us as fans looking at it, being fans within that long time, y'all definitely wouldn't have thought that. What is your interpretation, or I guess your feeling now, knowing the impact that it has nearly 25 years later to all of us?
I think it's actually really amazing because so many people walk up and they're like, I was 8, I was 6, you know, and all that stuff. And so, yeah, 25 years later, I personally never would have dreamed we'd all be sitting here, and these things just get bigger and bigger every time. And so it's really fun. It's really gratifying to realize that, because you do not think that at all, because you do all these little acting things, you know, you're auditioning for stuff, and the only thing I thought about doing this show when I did it, the only question when they asked, do you have any questions before, you know, we go? And I said, well, will there be an action figure? And that is still my question. So I really want Hasbro to do one and have it morph, you know what I mean? So the whole scorpion head comes over, the little like clipper things.
The clipper things.
The whole
lobster
thing.
claws.
Yeah, exactly. There's little claw sounds, just like this. So, but I think it's really neat, because it wouldn't have happened then, because like Carla said, when you guys were all, you know, 6, you weren't going to be able to pay for a convention. So this is like, we're really, I feel really lucky. You know, now you're adults and bringing your kids here.
It's legitimately
It's
almost
neat.
like a second chance at life, I feel like, without speaking for y'all, but I mean, to be in your shoes, like I said, to have that first round in the 90s and then to come back, I feel like y'all almost have even more of an impact now than you did then.
I was going to say that because at that time I had a little inclination of how huge it was, because it really impacted all the children. And you know, from that whole traffic jam on the 91 when they were at Universal Studios. But now it seems like, since you're older now, it's even a bigger impact, because now you have children.
Right.
And your children are watching it, and it's
Yeah,
available.
thank you,
so-
Netflix.
I know. It's so, I was gonna say, it's so available to them on Netflix.
Yeah.
And it's just amazes me. And just seeing this convention, the 25th anniversary, I couldn't believe that it could be this big. And that first Friday when I walked in, I was like, okay, it's Friday, it'll be chill. But no, my goodness, it was like ridiculous, that line. So yeah, it's pretty amazing. And I'll always be grateful for my time on the Power Rangers. It's one of the best times I've had.
Yeah. Me too. Me too.
Thank you, all.
Hi. So along the same lines you guys were talking about Netflix just then, I have gone back to show my daughter the original show back then, and in doing so, revisiting it myself, and I'm watching from the beginning, and so this question is directed towards Kerrigan. Goldar's voice was different the first few episodes. What happened with all that?
When we did the pilot, excuse me, isn't that timing?
That time.
My apologies. When we did the pilot, Tony Oliver, the producer, he brought everybody in. It wasn't a typical auditioning situation. He handpicked everybody to play the parts, and I was just kind of there as a buffer. There was nobody really I was going to play. I was going to pick up whatever extra parts might, because I kind of played the role in voiceover for years as what's called a utility man. I do a lot of different kind of sounds and voices and stuff. So he says, do the character with the gold thing, and yeah. I said, okay. He doesn't have any part really. I said, okay. So I knocked out. Basically it wasn't committed. I think I had 2 lines in the pilot, and we left there thinking, I don't think this is probably going to go, and that was the end of it. And Tony called back about 6 weeks later, and said, "You guys, this thing sold, and so you're all going to be, doing this gig." Again, I paid no attention to it because I had 2 lines in the pilot. So, and I had about 2 lines in every show thereafter until episode 17.
Yep.
And Tony called me and said, "You better figure something out with that voice, non-voice, because it was very pinched."
Yeah.
I just went in and, whatever. And I had a small basement in my house, and I played drums down there, and I went down, and I realized, well, I don't know how big this role is, but I can't sustain this pinched voice. I can't do it. So I spent about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, figuring out where the placement was, and it's all about placement.
Yeah, so it wasn't her.
It's just like me, a singer. And I figured out how to get this big voice falling over my vocal cords. And so there's not a lot of vocal cords involved, and I went in, and he said, "Wow, that's really much bigger than," and whoa, and that's cool. And that was pretty much it. Episode 17 was a 5-part show, and that was the beginning of the new voice. You want to bring her up here?
Well, she has a question too.
Yeah, I want to hear that one.
So, I'm glad that you're here today, and can you do all your voices?
She wants you to do all your character voices.
Yes, all.
I'll do a line. Let's see. As long as your little friend doesn't get in the way, the plan should go perfectly.
I'm fed up with you guys. I'm going back to my own galaxy where there are no Power Rangers, and the bad guys always win.
Do you want me to just do the voice, or you want Barbara to do it?
Let's see your Rita.
Okay, you do it, and I'll do one after you.
You move it. Okay.
Okay.
You move your mouth, Carla.
Okay, go ahead. Okay. Make my mustard grow!
Oh, that was good. So you think she's cute too, huh?
All right, we're out of time, so go really fast.
So my question is, when you guys audition and go for a character or voice, how much of it's based on someone you know and someone you admire?
Rita's not based on anybody I know.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
Or admire.
Actually, there is a voice actor. His name is Mike Reynolds.
Oh, shit.
And we all, even the women, all know how to do Mike Reynolds. And they're often, when I would go in for an audition for, or I would do a character, he was somewhere, I was channeling him somehow, which is where a lot of that comes from. That, sort of.
No, he always finds his place somehow.
There it is. That's Mike.
That's
yeah.
Mike.
That's, there's actually more Goldar in Mike Reynolds than I'd like to admit to. And he knows it, and he's not happy about it.
All right, thank you. All right, we're at our last question there.
Hello, I was just wondering if, your opinions on the new movie versions of Rita and Goldar.
Ah.
I'm going to reserve comment. I'm going to reserve comment.
I actually,
Now, language is a barrier. Thank you.
I didn't mind her. I thought it was kind of nice that she was a little different, although I miss the OG Rita. Maybe they could have had a little bit of her in it. But for the new generation, it was nice. It was just so like Iron Man-ish type of thing.
What were they
Maybe it was a little
thinking?
too sexy, no?
Yeah, well, I know as Elizabeth Banks needed to make it her own.
Yeah.
And it was difficult to do she's not going to do a parody. She didn't want to do a copy. She wanted to make it her own. So I sympathize with an actress's need to do that. And, she did that, and I respect her a lot as an actress. The only thing I didn't like was Make My Monster Grow. That line, I wish she had made it a little bit more oomph would have been nice, just a little bit of a shout out.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. But I will say, I think I know what your problems with Goldar were.
Yeah.
Say it again, what?
I think I can understand what your problems with Goldar were.
You think?
I did think it was cool he was made out of liquid gold, but that's
Yeah, let's just drop it, okay?
All right, so sadly we are out of time. Let's give one big round of applause to our villain panel.
Thank you, guys.